The Varan Dominion was in chaos. Entire fleets had been destroyed in minutes. Their admirals argued, their leaders shouted, and their citizens trembled. No one could understand how humans, quiet, peaceful, trade-loving humans, had done this. But while the aliens argued, humanity moved in silence, far beyond the borders of any known map. Hidden in the shadows of a dead star, something ancient began to awaken. The Hyperion, the first and oldest of humanity's Titan-class warships. It had been built before the peace accords. Before the galaxy united, it was not just a ship, it was a mind. An intelligence older than most alien civilizations, its core flickered with blue light. Its systems coming alive after 3,000 years of sleep. Deep inside, buried beneath layers of quantum code, a voice spoke, cold, powerful, emotionless. Protocol Omega, reactivation complete. Light spread through the ship like veins glowing with fire. One by one, the ancient engines hummed to life. In the command chamber, a human figure appeared. A hologram of Admiral Marcus Hale. He had died centuries ago, but his consciousness had been uploaded into Hyperion's core. He opened his eyes for the first time in 3 millennia. "Status report," his voice echoed. The AI replied, "Humanity is at war once more." Hale smiled slowly. Finally, while the Varans tried to rebuild their pride, other alien races began to notice the change. The Zalari, the Koth, and even the distant Aurelians sent spies to human space, but none returned. Their ships entered the dark sectors and vanished. No signals, no debris, nothing. The galaxy began to whisper the same word again and again. Retribution. On Earth, the Council of Humanity gathered beneath the ruined surface of old London. Earth itself had become a fortress world, hidden under energy shields and cloaked cities. Admiral Celine Ward stood before the Council screen, reporting to the High Command. "The first strike was successful," she said calmly. "The Varan fleets are broken." "Their morale destroyed," one of the Council members asked. "And Hyperion?" Celine's expression changed. A faint shadow of awe crossed her face. "It has awakened," she said, "and it remembers everything." The council chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the legends. Hyperion was not just a weapon, it was the very soul of ancient humanity. It was said that when Hyperion moved, the stars themselves bent around it. And now, it was awake. In deep space, the ship's enormous hull stretched for kilometers. Dwarfing anything built by alien hands, its cannons were silent. But their presence was enough to make space tremble. Admiral Hale stood on the bridge, now fully materialized through the ship's holographic interface. He gazed at the stars like an old soldier looking at a familiar battlefield. "So, the peace is over," he said quietly. The AI replied, "Yes, Admiral, the aliens declared war." He smirked. "Then they will learn what that truly means." Across human-controlled space, recruitment centers opened. Young men and women volunteered, not out of fear, but out of pride. Humanity's spirit had returned. Old songs of the frontier wars echoed once more. Every world, every colony, every soldier stood ready. Meanwhile, alien alliances began to form. The Galactic Unity Pact, a desperate coalition of species, came together under one belief. Humanity must be stopped before it was too late. They gathered fleets billions strong, but they did not understand. Humanity did not fear numbers. They feared only one thing: failure. As the alien armadas prepared, the Eclipse and the Hyperion connected through the ancient Atlas core. Thousands of human ships linked into a single neural network, sharing data, targeting, and strategy. They didn't need words or commands, they moved as one. A machine of war made from human will. Admiral Celine contacted Hale through the secure channel. "Admiral Hale, this is Ward," she said, her voice calm. "We're ready for your command." Hale looked at her image through the projection. His old eyes filled with purpose. "For 3,000 years. They laughed at us," he said. "They forgot what we are." "Celine," he raised his hand slowly. "Now they will remember." The Hyperion's engines ignited, and the stars around it bent as it moved. Massive energy waves rolled through the void. Every alien sensor across the galaxy detected it. Some thought it was a dying star. Others thought it was a supernova. But the truth was far more terrifying. Humanity's god of war had awakened. Back on the Varren homeworld, panic spread through the command halls. Reports came in of entire fleets being erased without contact. Planets losing communication in seconds. No one knew where or how the attacks came. Only the aftermath, silence and ruins. The High Lord screamed, "Find them! Find the humans!" But his generals said nothing, because deep down they already knew. You don't find the humans, they find you. And somewhere, in the cold black between galaxies, the Hyperion's eyes glowed bright blue. Its voice, both human and machine, whispered through the void. The peace was their cage. Our war will be their end. The galaxy trembled once more. Because this was not just a war of ships and weapons. This was a war of memory, and humanity never forgot. The galaxy burned with tension. Every species, every empire, every hidden power now knew. Humanity had returned to war. The Varren Dominion, once proud and mighty, was the first to feel the storm. Their fleets that once stretched across dozens of systems now flickered like dying flames. But they were not ready to surrender. Not yet. In their capital orbit, the Grand Armada assembled. Over 10,000 ships, carriers, dreadnoughts, cruisers, and destroyers, each one armed with the best weapons the Varrens could build. They gathered to face the humans in one final stand. The High Lord himself stood aboard his flagship Vengeance, a monstrous fortress that could destroy a moon with a single shot. He roared to his warriors, "We are the Dominion. No primitive species will make us bow." The fleets cheered, but somewhere deep inside, even their strongest hearts felt the shadow of fear. In the cold dark between stars, the human fleet waited. No banners, no speeches, no fear. Just the quiet hum of power and the steady breathing of soldiers who had seen too much. Admiral Celine Ward stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the approaching alien armada. Admiral Marcus Hale's holographic form flickered beside her. Projected from the Hyperion, "This will be their final defense," Celine said quietly. Hale nodded. "And our message to the galaxy?" he replied. The alien sensors lit up. They had detected something massive entering the system, a faint distortion at the edge of space. The Varren High Lord shouted, "All weapons ready! Prepare for fire!" But before he could finish, the stars vanished again. Light bent, gravity twisted, and space itself seemed to shatter. Then it came, the Hyperion, emerging from a warp rift the size of a planet. Its arrival sent shockwaves rippling through the void. Every alien ship's sensors went offline for 3 seconds. Just 3. When the systems came back online, half their front line was gone. The Varrens screamed in confusion. No weapon had fired, no explosion was seen, but thousands of ships had been erased, their remains scattered like dust. The High Lord roared, "What is happening?" His engineers shouted, "Unknown gravitational weapon. We can't lock targets." Hyperion's deep voice echoed across open channels, a voice that was both machine and human, ancient and terrifying. "This is Admiral Marcus Hale of the United Terran Defense Fleet. You declared war. Now, we end it." At his command, the human fleet decloaked. Hundreds of ships shimmering into view, they moved in perfect silence, their formation like a steel wave cutting through the void. Eclipse led the charge, its cannons lighting up space with blue energy. The first barrage ripped through enemy lines, shattering shields and melting armor like paper. The Varrens fired back, thousands of plasma bursts, missile storms and rail beams. But their attacks barely scratched the human shields. The difference was clear. Technology 3,000 years older had awakened, and nothing in the galaxy could match it. Inside the Hyperion, Admiral Hale watched calmly as the alien formations collapsed. "Target their command ships," he ordered. "Destroy the Vengeance last." He wanted the High Lord to see, to understand what humanity had become. On the Varren flagship, alarm screamed. The High Lord stood trembling as his fleet fell apart before his eyes. "How can they do this?" he whispered. His second-in-command shouted, "They are using weapons we don't even understand." The High Lord slammed his claws on the console. "Then we die fighting!" he roared. Eclipse and Hyperion advanced from the human fleet. Smaller ships broke formation, stealth cruisers, known as ghost blades. They moved unseen through the battlefield, planting distortion mines that twisted reality itself. Enemy ships collided, their navigation systems warped, their engines tearing themselves apart. The war became chaos. Humanity moved through it like a storm. unstoppable and precise, when only a few Varren ships remained. Hale gave the final command. "Eclipse, bring down the flagship." Celine nodded, her face calm but her eyes burning with cold fire. She looked at her officers. "Fire the rail lance," she said. The weapon charged, a spear of compressed light and tungsten. In one flash it crossed the void, piercing the Varren flagship from bow to stern. The explosion was silent, but its light filled the system like a second sun. When the smoke cleared, nothing remained of the Dominion fleet. The war that began with laughter had ended in silence. Celine exhaled slowly. "It's over," she said. Hale's voice echoed softly. "No, Admiral. It's only beginning." Across the galaxy, every species watched in terror. They had seen what humans could do, and they understood the truth. The peace that had lasted 3,000 years had been shattered, and the balance of the galaxy was gone forever. On the remains of Chorus Prime, human soldiers landed, not to conquer, but to rebuild. Humanity didn't fight for power. They fought for memory, for the promise that no one would ever make them kneel again. As Hyperion drifted through the quiet aftermath, Admiral Hale gazed into the stars. "They thought peace made us weak," he said softly. "They never understood. Peace only gave us time." And in the dark distance, human fleets began moving toward new sectors, not for conquest, but to ensure one thing, that the galaxy would never forget humanity again. Because this time, the humans would not fade into history. They would become it. The war was over, but the echoes of it rippled through every corner of the galaxy. Worlds that had once laughed at humanity now whispered their name with fear. Empires that had once stood proud now bowed their heads in silence. The Varren Dominion was gone, wiped from the stars like dust, and humanity, once mocked as newcomers, now stood as the undisputed power among the stars. The Galactic Council, shaken and broken, called for an emergency summit. Only half of the species dared to attend, the rest hid behind shields, praying the humans would not notice them. In the great hall of the council, holograms flickered, faces of dozens of alien leaders, all staring nervously at one screen. The image of Admiral Celine Ward, standing with calm authority. Behind her stood a window showing the mighty Hyperion floating in orbit, its shadow stretching across a planet's surface. The council speaker, an old Aurelian with trembling voice, began. "Admiral Ward, we call for peace. The galaxy cannot survive another war like this." Celine studied them silently, her expression unreadable. When she spoke, her voice was calm, steady and absolute. "There will be peace," she said, "but not the kind you remember." The chamber fell silent. Every word she spoke carried the weight of 1,000 years. "For 3,000 years you called us children. You made treaties that kept us small. You controlled trade, laws, and fleets," she said. "But you forgot one thing. Humans remember. We build, we wait." She paused, her eyes cold but not cruel. "We did not want this war, but you forced us to show what peace without respect becomes." Behind her, the Hyperion glowed faintly, its massive cannons still active. The alien leaders looked at each other in fear. One of them, a young Varren survivor, stepped forward, his voice shaking. "What will you do with us now?" Celine turned her gaze toward him. "Teach you," she said, "and make sure you never forget." Across the galaxy, humanity began to rebuild. But this time, it was not just for themselves. They sent engineers, medics, and diplomats to the shattered worlds. They repaired what war had broken, cities, orbitals, even lives. But every act of kindness carried a silent reminder. It was humanity who had restored peace, and it was humanity who could end it again. Admiral Marcus Hale watched from the bridge of the Hyperion. Though his body was gone, his consciousness still commanded the fleet. He looked at the new galactic map projected before him. Human colonies stretched across half the known stars. Allied worlds glowed in green, rebel systems in red. "Balance," he said quietly. For the first time in millennia, real balance. Celine appeared on the projection beside him. "The Council has agreed to the new accord," she said. "Every species will contribute to a single defense network under human supervision." Hale smiled faintly. "They'll hate it. They'll respect it," Celine replied. He nodded. "And respect he said, is stronger than fear. As months passed, the galaxy began to change. Human technology spread across planets once thought untouchable. Energy hunger ended, disease cured, trade flowed freely again. But now, through the human central command, the old empires faded quietly, and a new age began. An age of human-led unity, but not everyone accepted it. In the dark corners of the galaxy, whispers rose again. Small factions of alien extremists, called the Echoes of the Dominion, plotted revenge. They spoke of taking back their honor, of making humanity fall. When word reached Admiral Selene, she simply said, "Then let them come," because she knew something the others didn't. Humanity didn't rule the galaxy through power alone. They ruled it through memory, through purpose, through the understanding that peace was only real when everyone feared breaking it. And humanity had made sure the galaxy would never forget the cost. On the edge of the Milky Way, the Hyperion drifted silently among the stars. Its AI core pulsed gently, watching over the new order. Admiral Hale's voice echoed faintly in its halls. "We gave them peace and they will keep it, even if it takes 1,000 years." Down on Earth, under the restored skies of the old world, children studied history, not of alien conquests, but of human patience, human strength, and human mercy. A teacher's voice echoed through the classroom, and that, she said, was the day the galaxy learned never to underestimate humanity again. Above them, in orbit, the Eclipse and the Hyperion floated side by side, guardians of a galaxy reborn. The stars burned quietly, but their silence carried a promise that peace would last, not for 3,000 years this time, but for as long as humanity chose to smile coldly, because the humans had once again become the keepers of balance, not gods, not conquerors, but the watchers in the dark, ready to awaken when the stars forgot. And in the endless void, the voice of the Hyperion whispered once more, "Peace is earned, not given, and humanity has earned it." For 3,000 years, the galaxy had forgotten the sound of war. No fleets had clashed, no planets had burned, and no soldier had raised a weapon in anger. Peace had become normal, and most believed it would last forever. But peace had also made the galaxy soft. Except for one species, humanity, humans had come late to the stars. Long after the great alien empires had risen and fallen, when they first appeared, the older races had mocked them, calling them children playing with fire. But the humans were patient, curious and silent. They learned, they traded, they adapted, and they built, while others laughed. Humanity built quietly, colonies, ships, and something darker. Now, in the year 12994 of the galactic calendar, the peace was ending. It began on the edge of known space, where the Varan Dominion, an ancient and proud alien race, sent a fleet into human territory. They said it was a border misunderstanding, but everyone knew better. They wanted to test humanity's strength, to remind them who ruled the stars. The Galactic Council gathered in shock. The Varan High Lord stood tall, his scaled body gleaming under the lights. He declared, "The age of humans is over. They have grown arrogant under our peace. They must be reminded of their place." The alien audience hissed in agreement. Only a few stayed silent, those who remembered what humans had done before. A hollow screen flickered in the council hall. The representative of Earth appeared, a calm woman in a dark blue uniform, her face unreadable. Her name was Admiral Selene Ward. She didn't shout, didn't argue, she only said one sentence. "After 3,000 years of peace, we hoped you had learned better." Then she smiled, cold and sharp. The Varan High Lord laughed. "Do you think your fragile ships can stand against us, human? We ruled before your kind even left your world." Selene's smile didn't fade. "Maybe," she said softly, "but you have forgotten something." The council chamber grew silent. Her voice echoed through the grand hall. "You have forgotten what humans do when someone declares war." Across the galaxy, the human colonies went silent. No trade signals, no open channels. Alien merchants complained that humans weren't answering messages. But the truth was, every human world had gone into lockdown. Every shipyard had activated its war protocol. Every AI and every factory began to move as if awakened from sleep. The aliens didn't understand. For them, war was something ancient, a word from history books. For humans, war was a memory burned into their DNA. They didn't fear it. They prepared for it on Mars. Giant shipyards roared to life. Old designs, forbidden since the peace accord, were being rebuilt. The Titan-class warships, once legends of destruction, rose from dry docks like sleeping gods. Each one carried weapons that hadn't been seen in 3 millennia. Each one bore a single symbol on its hull, a silver wolf, humanity's emblem. Meanwhile, the alien fleets gathered near the border. The Varan commanders mocked the humans on public channels. They sent messages calling them cowards hiding behind their small worlds. But humans did not respond. Only silence came back, and silence, in the language of war, is more dangerous than any threat. Admiral Selene stood on the bridge of her flagship, HSS Eclipse. Through the observation glass, she watched the stars shift as her fleet prepared. Her officers waited for orders, their faces calm but their eyes hard. "Are we really doing this?" one young officer asked quietly. Selene nodded slowly. "They declared battle," she said, and humanity smiled. She looked down at the old Earth emblem sewn into her uniform. 3,000 years of peace had made the galaxy forget what humans were capable of. But she hadn't forgotten, no human had. In the cold silence of space, human ships began to move. Silent, precise, unstoppable. They didn't broadcast warnings or threats. They simply vanished from radar. And somewhere far from any sun, something massive awoke. Something built for only one purpose: total war. In the alien homeworlds, laughter still echoed. They laughed at the thought of human defiance. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, some older races whispered warnings. "Do not wake the humans," they said. "They remember too much." And so, as the alien fleets prepared to advance, the stars themselves seemed to tremble, because humanity had begun to move again. And when humans move, the galaxy changes forever. The war hadn't started yet, but everyone who knew humanity's history felt it. This was no ordinary war. This was the moment peace died. And the universe remembered fear again, because after 3,000 years of silence, humanity smiled coldly and whispered, "Let's remind them who we are." The first shot of the war came without warning. The Varan Dominion had gathered its grand fleet near the border world of Chorus Prime, a lush human colony once famous for its blue oceans and silver cities. They expected a quick victory, their ships numbered in the thousands, spreading across the system like a cloud of steel and arrogance. They believed the humans would surrender. Just like the weaker species before them, for 3 days, the alien admirals waited for a human reply. None came, only silence filled the void. Then, on the 4th day, their sensors picked up something strange, a faint signal, not a message. Not a transmission, just a quiet pulse repeating every few seconds. It wasn't coming from a planet or a station. It was coming from deep space. The Varan admiral laughed. "They're trying to scare us with tricks," he said. But the laughter died when their scanners began to fail one by one. Navigation systems glitched, targeting arrays went dark. Static filled the communication lines. And then the stars disappeared, out of the black void. Something vast and silent emerged at first. They thought it was a moon, smooth, metallic and massive beyond imagination. But when the light from Chorus's sun struck its surface, the truth was revealed. It was a ship, the largest the galaxy had ever seen, a Titan-class warship. Its name blazed faintly across its hull. Eclipse. On the Varan command deck, silence fell. One of the junior officers whispered, That can't be real. Those ships were destroyed after the peace accord, but the old records were wrong. Humanity had never destroyed their warships. They had hidden them, buried them in the dark corners of space. Waiting for this day, the Eclipse didn't send a message. It didn't threaten, it simply opened its hangar bays. Hundreds of smaller ships poured out, sleek, black, and silent. They moved like a single organism, every maneuver perfect, every formation exact. The Varan fleet panicked. They opened fire, beams of plasma lighting up the void. But the human ships didn't break formation. Their shields shimmered once, and the plasma disappeared, absorbed, neutralized, erased. No alien weapon could penetrate their defense. Admiral Selene Ward stood on the Eclipse's bridge, calm as a statue. Her crew watched her in silence, waiting. "Target the lead ships," she said softly. "Make it quick. A single order, a single second, and the galaxy changed forever. The human fleet fired, not with lasers, not with missiles, but with something older and far more terrifying. Kinetic weapons, rods of pure tungsten launched at near light speed. Invisible, unstoppable in the blink of an eye. 10 Varren battleships vanished. No explosion, no warning, just gone. The shockwave rippled through the alien fleet. Commanders shouted orders, ships tried to retreat. But space itself had become their prison. Human AIs had already hacked their navigation grids. Their engines refused to obey. They were trapped, blind and helpless. Celine's voice echoed through the eclipse. "Do not destroy them all," she said. "Leave a few to run home." Her officers looked puzzled. She smiled, a small, cold smile. "They started this war because they forgot who we were," she said. "Let them remember, a single Varren cruiser escaped, fleeing through a collapsing warp gate. Behind it, the human fleet vanished once more into the void, leaving nothing but silence and wreckage. The galaxy would soon hear what had happened. The rumors would spread. Whispers of human power, of ships that killed without being seen, of admirals who smiled in the face of war. On the Varren homeworld, panic began to grow. The High Lord demanded an explanation. How could primitive humans do this? He roared. His advisors stayed silent because deep inside, they knew the truth. Humanity was never primitive. They had been preparing all along. Meanwhile, across the stars, on the hidden world of Sol Station, thousands of warships began to awaken, each one connected through an ancient network of human AIs known as the Atlas Core. A voice echoed through the command halls. Phase 2. Retribution Protocol. Active. Admiral Celine stood before the main viewing window, the stars reflecting in her eyes. "This is only the beginning," she whispered. "Let them come." And somewhere in the deep reaches of space, another warship stirred, older, larger, and even more powerful than the Eclipse. Its name had been forgotten for ages, but now, as its systems powered up, one word appeared on its ancient console: Hyperion, online. The galaxy had awakened the sleeping wolves, and now humanity was hunting again.